For now, let's bring in our next guest, Exiger's Vice President for Nuclear and Technology Security Programs, Scott LaFoy. A bit of a pivot here, but obviously we're staying on topic, which is, of course, the conflict that's happening in Iran. Specifically, we're going to sort of target your specific specialty, which is looking at Iran's nuclear capabilities. Obviously, we know sort of rejecting and destroying those capabilities was part of the core objectives from the United States when actually entering this conflict. Do we have any updates on sort of the progress that's being made in sort of achieving that end goal?
Yes, absolutely. And it's a little murky, but it's something that any program has been certainly paused, it seems like. A lot of it dependent on specifically about 440 kilograms of uranium that seems to be, at least according to the foreign minister of Iran as of today, sealed under the rubble within multiple sites. Those sites don't all appear to have been actually attacked so far during the conflict. Some of that is a leftover from June 2025's conflict. But it does seem to be the case that there's not sort of a rush for things right now.
I was going to say, that sounds like a gold rush. Anybody that's interested in building out their own nuclear capabilities is probably very interested in that uranium, right?
It'd be extremely concerning in the event that uranium was, that control of that uranium was lost, or that its location was unverified, which is currently somewhat as it stands. We are taking the Iranian government sort of at face value for that. That would be something that would be extremely dangerous in the wrong hands. That's something that. Oh, go ahead.
What does that look like? What does buried uranium look like? How is it stored? How would it be kept? What's the shelf life, so to speak?
Absolutely. So right now it's usually stored in casks, about 40 to 50 pound cylinders of uranium hexafluoride gas. This is what they spin around in the centrifuges. So, over the years, a big piece of news has been the centrifuges and the enrichment centers at Fordo and at Natanz, these cascades of centrifuges. This is what's spun around in those centrifuges, off-gassed, and then stored for conversion into the sort of fuels and parts that are fabricated into a nuclear weapon. So it's still a constituent part of a nuclear weapon. It's not like you have full assemblies that are ready to go or anything like that. It's several steps back, but it's stored in usually these heavy 40 to 50 pound casks of basically gas.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Obviously, that would be a story a reporter on the ground would love to see, go digging for uranium. I don't know how safe that is or not. But let's talk a little bit. Say that again.
Would recommend it.
Would recommend it. Got it. How about just in general, the inherent risk that comes with bombing nuclear sites? I mean, that seems common sense to me, but maybe you can provide context and clear that up. If sort of the mission of wiping out nuclear facilities and capabilities is by bombing it, isn't that a great risk to just about everyone when actually going after explosive materials?
Absolutely. And so to be clear, these would not be explosive materials. So if you hit them with a weapon, they don't cause a nuclear detonation. They are precursor materials. But what they do have the equivalent of would be a dirty bomb. So you get radiation release, you'd get irradiated land. Depending on where it's located, that can go airborne or into water sources. This is why after the June 2025 strikes that the United States did against Iran, the IAEA was very quick to come in and say, here's our radiation monitorship. We are indicating no, radiation leaks from these sites. This is always a huge risk when dealing with nuclear weapons programs and this sort of thing. You're exactly correct. Hitting the wrong thing could create a radiological disaster. And that's usually why the strategy would be to either exfiltrate it or to seal it into a facility.
Yeah, it just speaks to the level of care and complexity that goes into every single operation, mission, and target that the United States, Israel, and our allies are going through. Let's just talk about learning lessons. I don't know if you've looked at this conflict that's been happening over the last 16 days and viewed it from perspective of forward thinking and future conflicts, specifically when it comes to other nuclear powers and threats out there, Russia, North Korea, and China. What do you think the United States has taken away from 16 days worth of action with Iran?
So I think it's that you have to be extremely careful when dealing with a nuclear program. And there's the sort of darker lesson on it is that a more mature nuclear program would be far more dangerous to go after because it could lead to a nuclear detonation. Iran's nuclear program never reached a final bomb stage. They've never tested, at least publicly tested a nuclear weapon. The IAEA indicates they don't have a structured program, which has sort of a mysterious meaning. But in a conflict, going after a fully functional nuclear program, such as what you'd see in North Korea, would be far more dangerous because of the likelihood of nuclear retaliation or an accidental nuclear discharge.
Right. It's a fascinating and very, very delicate conversation we're having. But thank you very much for providing that insight in that context. Scott LaFoy, thank you.
Thanks for having me.